I feel like I don't have the 100% response to that,
Yeah.
but I have ideas that have been pieced together from experiences.
Okay.
Engaging with my young friends. I call them friends because they energize me. So when people say to me, "You're not getting old," I say, "Have you met my friends? They are young, right?"
Yeah.
So catching them young, I think just connecting with young people and hearing them. I feel like one of the gaps, and I'm not saying that everybody, it's not everybody's experience, but one of the gaps we experienced growing up, we didn't really have a say.
Yeah.
We were meant to follow instructions as we were given. And so daddy says jump, you say how
follow
high.
That part. Yeah.
So with them, they question things. They say why. And they want you to tell them why.
Yeah.
Until you say why, you can go around it in many different ways. If you don't answer why, they'll go research why.
Yeah.
They will find one brother to ask, or one friend with a phone to Google. They'll go on Quora and just put the question there. And there is a world of answers there. So I think the first thing is realizing that we must hear them.
Okay.
And hearing them is one thing, listening to them is another. And then, you know, I would rather say hearing them is one thing, and then listening is another. And combining both is, well, I say the secret to catching them young. Because I realize that when I hear them, when I listen to them, they feel relaxed, they get excited, no airs, they are not, their defenses are down, and then they start to say many other things.
I think they begin to trust you at that point.
Exactly. And they trust very easily. That's another problem, by the way, that we are all worried about, whether as parents, whether as guardians, whether as teachers, mentors, coaches, is the fact that they trust very easily and they hurt very easily. So knowing all of that, the most important thing is let's hear them. Let's know what they bring to the table. Let's hear why they are rebelling. Oh, this child is rebellious. Why is this child rebellious? Let's explore it. Then let's begin to see how we can best get them to do what we want, however, customizing it to suit their approach, so that we get them to do it faster. That's what I'll say. I can go on and on, but let me just stop here and then hear your other questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. But at what age do we begin to catch this, you know, young ones? Are we going to say, okay, say from the womb, or are we going to say from a teenage age? At what age do we begin to use this approach on them and begin to listen to them, begin to, like you said, listen to them, begin to see from their perspective and begin to answer some of these questions? At what age do you think we should start this?
In the spirit of catching them young and responding to your question, I'd say from when they are in the womb. And hear me out. So when I was pregnant with my first child, I remember saying affirmations to her.
Wow.
And today, her confession that she says before she goes to school has a line that says, from the womb, Daddy and Mommy knew you were ... So because those were the things that we were saying. We're children of God, and we know the power of words, the power of confession. So speaking to that baby in the womb and saying, you'll be great, you'll be teachable, you would have your issues, but they will not be out of control. You will have values.
That's profound.
You will align with God's values. You will be acceptable to teachings, you know, that will shape you and form you to be a whole being. So you see, when I say that, people say from the womb. But when you started to say it, and then you surround the child with the positive values that you want them to imbibe from when they are young. When my goddaughters or godchildren visit me, they always have a confession they go back home with. Even if they are 1 year old, they can say, I am God's child. My daughter's first confession was, I am loved by God, and I love God. And I remember she would say that repeatedly. I love God. God loves me. She was just one going on two. So we underestimate their capacity to retain information. Imagine children when they watch cartoons, they roll out all the characters back to back.
And why do we now feel like they
can't internalize other things? So we underestimate their capacity. They would recite something in a movie, a language they don't speak. Spanish, I remember Dora and Spanish, and they are saying everything. And I'm like, okay, that means my child can learn Yoruba if I decide to, along with English and any other language. So my point is just as early as possible, because we want to catch them early, before the world defines to them who they are. We want them to leave home knowing who they are. So catching them young also involves intentional parenting. And that's another whole discussion on its own.
I totally agree with you. It will take an intentional parent to actually practice this. Imagine having to confess to your child, or having to have these discussions with your children from the womb.
Yeah,
that's huge. I would just say be intentional, like she said.